3:47 a.m. The Strait of Hormuz. IRGC boats cut through the darkness at 28 knots, moving in a tight formation. Their radar systems sweep the horizon non-stop, while commanders exchange low voices over encrypted channels. To them, the setup looks flawless. Every movement has been planned. Every signal has been measured. But in just 94 seconds, the entire situation will shift. One small inconsistency in the data begins pulling the whole formation off balance. 3:48 a.m. Across one of the most tense corridors in the Middle East, the U.S. Navy keeps a constant presence over the Strait of Hormuz. Arleigh Burke-class vessels scan the horizon with razor-sharp radar coverage, while F/A-18S wait ready on the flight deck. But the most important move is happening far above the water, at 30,000 feet. This is where the EC-130 compass call enters the picture. A Lockheed Martin aircraft built not for conventional strikes, but for something far more silent: electronic disruption. It does not rely on visible force. Its power comes from cutting through communication systems, confusing command channels, and creating a kind of digital blackout before the other side can react. 3:49 a.m. Inside the compass call, the cockpit suddenly fills with urgent data. An Iranian early warning radar site along the coast has activated, pushing a strong signal across the airwaves. It is bold, direct, and familiar, the kind of move shaped by decades of regional tension. The American crew responds instantly. The system output is pushed higher, targeting the signal with overwhelming electronic pressure. But they have just entered a carefully prepared digital trap. There is no visible impact, no flash across the sky, no debris falling into the sea. Instead, hidden mobile transmitters along the rugged coastline release a powerful electromagnetic burst, tuned with precision to overload the EC-130's sensitive wideband receivers. In less than a heartbeat, critical onboard systems begin to fail. Screens flicker. Data streams collapse. The aircraft that was supposed to dominate the invisible battlefield suddenly loses its edge. The compass call is forced to pull away from the zone, its displays fading into an empty black. And for the IRGC, the reaction is immediate. They believe the first move has worked. Inside their command bunkers, the mood is pure celebration. They are high-fiving like they just knocked the world's only superpower offline. In their minds, the U.S. fleet is now a giant moving without vision. And honestly, it is almost cute. They think they have just won. Like someone unplugged the neighbor's Wi-Fi router and immediately declared total domination. Bless their hearts. 3:52 a.m. Their fast boats are pushing hard at 28 knots, cutting through the darkness with absolute confidence. They believe the American shield has cracked. They believe the balance has shifted. But they forgot one very old rule. When you break a lion's old toy, he does not panic. He reaches for something newer, sharper, and far more advanced. So what happens when the other side thinks victory is already theirs? You are about to see the answer. 4:02 a.m. While electromagnetic noise from the ambush still lingers over the strait, the American response is already in the sky, moving with cold, controlled precision. From the heavily protected runways of Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, a Boeing RC-135V/W rivet joint lifts into the night. One of the most feared signal intelligence aircraft on Earth quietly separates from the runway and climbs into the black. This aircraft does not need conventional weapons to be dangerous. Its power is hidden in a forest of ultra-sensitive antennas and a crew of elite digital specialists whose job is simple: find every signal, trace every source, and unlock the structure behind Iran's defensive network. The mission is not loud. It is a full-spectrum digital inspection of the entire Iranian defense architecture. Every time an IRGC radar operator, still riding the confidence of their move against the older EC-130, sweeps the horizon to confirm that the Americans are still blind, the rivet joint is already there. It does not just detect the signal, it absorbs it. Frequency, pulse pattern, timing, direction, transmitter location. All of it is captured almost instantly. Think of it this way: while IRGC commanders are still in their bunkers celebrating like they just won the final match of the World Cup, the RC-135 is sitting in the VIP section with a giant bucket of popcorn. The Americans are not just watching the game, they are studying the entire stadium, every camera angle, every entrance, every hidden system behind the walls. With terrifying precision, Iranian radar sites are being mapped one by one. Hidden air defense positions, mobile systems, command links, signal paths, everything is being identified and added to the picture in real time. The IRGC believes they gained the upper hand by disabling an older platform. In reality, they just gave a digital ghost permission to trace the outline of their entire network. They are telling themselves the victory is complete, unaware that their supposedly protected defense structure is being carefully exposed from the inside out. In the information domain, the side that controls the data controls the next move. And right now, the US is reading Iran's diary while Iran is still busy celebrating the first page. 4:15 a.m. What the IRGC does not realize is that they have not been improvising their way through this crisis. They have been following a script the Pentagon started writing weeks earlier. The Americans were never passive. For the last 21 days, two EA-37B Compass Call aircraft, the absolute top tier of modern electronic operations, had been sitting inside hardened hangars at Al Udeid, quietly disguised as routine climate testing units. These are not the older, slower, propeller-driven C-130 platforms. The EA-37B is built on the sleek, high-speed Gulfstream G550 airframe. It is faster, climbs higher, and carries an electronic disruption capability far beyond the older generation. In the electromagnetic spectrum, this is not just an upgrade. This is the final boss. They had simply been waiting for the perfect reason to activate the next layer. The moment the RC-135 sends back its high-resolution map of the signal environment, the two EA-37Bs surge down the runway, engines rising into the night with the sound of something built for this exact moment. At the same time, from the deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln, EA-18G growlers are launched into the darkness, joining the operation like a pack of hunters entering the same invisible battlefield. What follows is not chaos, it is coordination, a perfectly timed storm of electronic pressure. The effect is immediate. As the American formation enters the engagement zone, Iranian S-300, S-400, and Bavar 373 air defense systems, the pride of their defensive network, begin dropping out one after another. On the Iranian side, radar screens do not simply flicker, they collapse into a thick wall of white noise. Imagine trying to watch a high-definition movie on a television from the 1950s, while a thunderstorm tears the signal apart. No clear picture, no stable image, no reliable information, only static. The IRGC believed they had built the perfect trap. They thought they had weakened the American response. But the EA-37B is not just a replacement for the older EC-130H. It makes the previous generation look like an old flip phone trying to run modern AI software. Iran did not just miscalculate. They accidentally gave the United States the ideal opportunity to reveal its newest electronic advantage under real pressure. The situation has shifted from managing the crisis to reshaping the entire signal environment. The IRGC thought they had broken America's tools. Instead, they forced the U.S. to open a box they were nowhere near ready to deal with. 4:30 a.m. Just as the U.S. appears to have turned the Strait of Hormuz into a digital dead zone, the IRGC shows that they are not simply relying on outdated equipment. Their response is fast, disciplined, and carefully prepared. From hidden coastal positions, they activate some of their most serious Eastern-made systems, the Ghadir and JY-27 passive low-frequency radar platforms. These systems do not announce themselves loudly across the airwaves. They listen. They search for faint reflections, subtle disturbances, and tiny clues that might reveal the presence of advanced American aircraft. At the same time, they bring the Russian-made Krasika 4 into the picture, a massive truck-mounted electronic system designed to disrupt advanced sensors, satellites, and aircraft networks. The IRGC does not wait for the battlefield to settle. They fill the sky with Shahed 136 one-way drones, using them as moving digital distractions. Then, from mobile launchers concealed among the rugged coastal terrain, they send radar-seeking projectiles toward American electronic warfare aircraft. Now, the clock is moving fast. Inside the cockpit of an EA-18G Growler launched from the USS Abraham Lincoln, the pilot's display turns urgent. Warning tones fill the cabin. An Iranian surface-to-air system is tracking the aircraft, and the window to react is shrinking by the second. The pilot pulls hard, forcing the Growler into a sharp defensive maneuver. The aircraft strains under intense pressure as it carves through the night sky. But during that move, the electronic focus is briefly interrupted. For a few tense seconds, the American shield flickers. Part of the Iranian radar grid regains a narrow glimpse of the picture, lighting up sections of the U.S. formation like a spotlight cutting through a dark room. Inside IRGC bunkers, the reaction is immediate. They believe they have cracked the American system. Intercepted radio chatter catches the excitement. They think the American machine has finally been broken. For one brief moment, the chain of coordination is disrupted. The balance appears to shift. The entire region seems to hold its breath. But really, it is a very small moment. Iran thinks it has just shattered the latest flagship smartphone. In reality, the system has only entered low power mode for a few seconds while recalibrating. They believe they found a weakness. What they actually found was the edge of something much bigger. 4:42 a.m. Seeing the Growler under pressure, the IRGC moves for what it believes will be the decisive push. They drive their Krasuka 4 transmitters to maximum output, throwing a heavy wall of electronic interference into the sky. They send up a second wave of surface-to-air systems and direct the Shahed drone swarm toward the fleet's projected location. To them, success feels only seconds away, but they are wrong. This is the moment American multi-domain power answers with full force. High above the region, the RC-135 rivet joint has been quietly recording, sorting, and identifying every Iranian signal the entire time. Every frequency, every pattern, every source, every shift in behavior. Now the data moves through the fleet's network in real time, untouched by the interference below. Instantly, the EA-37B compass call changes mode. Now the EA-37B is no longer just creating interference. It begins concentrating its energy into a focused electronic beam, cutting through the Krasuka 4's interference like a diamond-tipped drill moving through glass. Inside the Growler, the pilot steadies the aircraft. His helmet-mounted display flashes a firm target solution. He confirms the command, and two AGM-88 HARM systems accelerate into the night, tracking the emissions from the Krasuka 4 and Bavar 373 transmitters at incredible speed. At the same moment, the ghosts arrive. F-35C Lightning II aircraft from Lockheed Martin appear from a completely different direction. They release ADM-160M ALD miniature air-launched decoys, filling the Iranian systems with false targets and pulling their attention away from the real aircraft. While Iranian operators try to sort reality from illusion, the F-35Cs use their own AESA radar systems to guide the Growler's response with surgical accuracy. In less than 120 seconds, the situation is decided. The Krasuka 4 is removed from the equation. The Ghadir radars lose their picture once again. The Shahed swarm is drawn away from the fleet's projected position and handled before it can create a serious threat. Then the electronic pressure from the EA-37B and the Growlers returns even stronger than before, pushing the entire Iranian network back into a deep and terrifying darkness. The IRGC's brilliant trap did not just collapse. It gave the United States the perfect reason to bring the EA-37B into action early and expose some of Iran's most valuable systems in one clean sequence. It is the ultimate backfire. They handed over the target list and the US simply pressed delete. 5 a.m. The electromagnetic storm over the Strait of Hormuz finally begins to fade, leaving behind a silence that is even more unsettling for the IRGC than the chaos that came before it. The Iranian air defense network they believed was nearly impenetrable. The S-300s, the S-400s, and the pride of Tehran, the Bavar 373, has been reduced to little more than a stack of locked, useless tablets. Their carefully designed trap did not deliver the result they expected. It turned against them with severe consequences. The American fleet they thought was moving without vision was never truly blind. It was a digital predator that had already mapped the entire battlefield before Iran realized the game had changed. And from a Wall Street perspective, the numbers are brutal. Iran spent years of development, massive financial resources, and serious political capital just to damage sensitive circuits on aging EC-130 Compass Call aircraft. They placed their bet against older American hardware, but the response came from an entirely different generation. The US Navy and Air Force answered with the EA-37B, the RC-135V/W rivet joint, and the F-35C, a combination that turned Iran's own trap into a live demonstration of American technological dominance. That is not a normal return on investment. That is an overwhelming strategic reversal. The United States did not simply defend itself. It used the Iranian move as a real-world testing ground to show that its newest systems are years ahead of anything the IRGC was prepared to face. For the IRGC, this was supposed to be a historic moment, a tactical masterpiece they could celebrate for years. For the United States, it was just another Tuesday, a short window to remind the world why you do not challenge a force that has just upgraded its entire playbook. The Strait of Hormuz remains open, energy routes continue to move, and the only thing left from the IRGC's perfect trap is a harsh lesson in technological humility. So what was the real hammer in this operation? Was it the RC-135's invisible mapping, the EA-37B's raw burn-through power, or the F-35C's ghost-like arrival from the shadows? Drop your tactical breakdown in the comments below. And if you respect the unmatched technological strength of the US fleet, hit the like button and subscribe to Navy Vector. We do not just follow global events, we decode the moments where power, strategy, and technology collide.